Hey there, food lovers! Ever wonder what dinner looked like in the 1970s? Well, today, we're taking a trip back in time to rediscover 20 vintage dinner recipes that you absolutely need to try again. Whether you grew up with these meals or you're hearing about them for the first time, these dishes are packed with nostalgia, flavor, and a little bit of quirky charm. Let's jump right into the retro vibes and start cooking up some 70s magic in the kitchen. French onion soup casserole. First on our retro recipe list is French onion soup casserole was a trendy dish in the 1970s, capturing the rich, comforting flavors of French onion soup in a much heartier form. This casserole layers toasted bread, caramelized onions, and a savory beef broth, all topped with gooey melted cheese. To start, you'll need to caramelize a lot of onions, about 4 or 5 large ones. Cook them low and slow in butter until they're deep golden brown and sweet. While the onions cook, toast slices of French bread in the oven. In a casserole dish, layer the toasted bread at the bottom, then top with the caramelized onions. Pour over a flavorful beef broth. You can make your own or use store-bought. The final step is to top the whole thing with a generous layer of shredded Gruyere or Swiss cheese. Bake the casserole until the cheese is bubbly and golden brown. The result is a comforting, cheesy dish that has all the best flavors of French onion soup, but in a casserole form that's perfect for a cozy family dinner. Porcupine meatballs. Here's a fun one, porcupine meatballs. Don't worry, no porcupines are involved. These are ground beef meatballs with a quirky twist. They're mixed with uncooked rice, which sticks out like little porcupine quills as they cook. It's a playful dish that kids loved in the 70s, and it's still just as delicious today. Start by mixing ground beef with uncooked white rice, chopped onions, and a few basic seasonings like salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Shape the mixture into small meatballs, then place them in a baking dish. Pour over a rich tomato sauce, which is key to cooking the rice inside the meatballs. Once they're in the oven, the rice absorbs the sauce and softens, while the meatballs get tender and flavorful. The result? A fun, satisfying dinner that's perfect for busy nights. You can serve these meatballs with mashed potatoes, pasta, or just with a slice of bread to soak up that delicious sauce. It's a forgotten gem of a recipe that deserves a spot on your dinner table again. Swedish meatballs. Swedish meatballs are up next, and these little flavor bombs were a staple of 1970s dinner tables, thanks to their creamy sauce and tender texture. These aren't your average meatballs. They're made with a mix of beef and pork and simmered in a rich, velvety gravy that's perfect over mashed potatoes or egg noodles. To make these, start by combining ground beef and ground pork in a bowl. Add breadcrumbs, an egg, grated onion, and a pinch of nutmeg, which gives these meatballs their distinctive flavor. Roll the mixture into small meatballs and brown them in a skillet until they're golden on the outside. Once the meatballs are browned, remove them from the pan and set them aside. In the same pan, make the sauce by melting butter and stirring in flour to create a roux. Slowly add beef broth, stirring constantly to prevent lumps, then let it simmer until thickened. For that rich signature Swedish flavor, stir in a good amount of sour cream, which gives the sauce its creamy texture. Add the meatballs back into the sauce and let them simmer until they're fully cooked through and tender. Serve over mashed potatoes or noodles, and you've got yourself a classic 1970s dinner that's both comforting and full of flavor. Swedish meatballs are a great way to bring a little vintage elegance back to your dinner table. Salmon loaf. Salmon loaf is another blast from the past that deserves a second look. Made primarily with canned salmon, this dish was a budget-friendly way to serve up a protein-packed dinner during the 1970s. While it might sound a little old-fashioned, this dish is actually a delicious, savory option for seafood lovers. To make the salmon loaf, start by draining a can of salmon and flaking it into a bowl, being careful to remove any bones. Add breadcrumbs, an egg, and some finely chopped onions for flavor. To keep the loaf moist, mix in some milk or mayonnaise, along with a squeeze of lemon juice to brighten up the flavors. Shape the mixture into a loaf and place it in a greased baking dish. You can top the loaf with a bit of melted butter or a sprinkling of parsley for extra flavor. Bake it in the oven until it's golden brown on top and cooked through in the middle. Salmon loaf is a great way to enjoy the health benefits of fish in a comforting retro package. Serve it with mashed potatoes or a simple salad, and you've got yourself a complete meal. It's one of those forgotten dishes that's easy to prepare and surprisingly satisfying. Goulash. Goulash was a one-pot wonder that made its way into many American kitchens during the 1970s. It's a simple dish of ground beef, macaroni, and tomatoes with a flavor profile that's both comforting and familiar. To make goulash, start by browning ground beef with onions and garlic in a large pot. Once the beef is cooked, add in a can of diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, and beef broth. Season with paprika, Italian seasoning, and a pinch of sugar to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. Next, stir in uncooked elbow macaroni and let everything simmer together until the pasta is tender and the sauce has thickened. The great thing about goulash is that it's hearty and filling, but also super easy to make on a busy weeknight. Serve this dish with a sprinkle of grated Parmesan cheese and some crusty bread on the side. Goulash is the ultimate comfort food, and it's no wonder it was a 70s favorite that's still around today. Spam fried rice. You can't talk about 1970s food without mentioning Spam, and Spam fried rice is one of those quick, easy dishes that turned pantry staples into a delicious meal. Spam was popular because it was affordable, shelf-stable, and versatile, and it paired perfectly with fried rice for a fast dinner. To make Spam fried rice, start by cutting the Spam into small cubes and frying them until they're golden and crispy. In the same pan, sauté some onions, garlic, and frozen peas and carrots. Then add cooked, day-old rice. Day-old rice works best because it's a bit drier and absorbs the flavors better. Toss everything together, and for a classic fried rice finish, push the rice to the side of the pan and scramble a couple of eggs. Mix the scrambled eggs into the rice, then season with soy sauce and a touch of sesame oil. Spam fried rice is salty, savory, and totally satisfying. It's the kind of dish you can throw together with what you have in the fridge, and it brings back the nostalgia of 1970s home cooking. Hungarian Paprikash. Hungarian Paprikash is a flavorful, comforting dish that made its way into American kitchens during the 1970s. It's made with chicken simmered in a rich sauce of paprika, sour cream, and onions. To make paprikash, start by browning chicken thighs or drumsticks in a skillet. Remove the chicken and set it aside, then sauté onions and garlic in the same pan. Stir in sweet Hungarian paprika, which is the key ingredient that gives this dish its deep, smoky flavor. Once the onions are coated in paprika, add chicken broth and return the chicken to the pan. Let it simmer until the chicken is tender and cooked through. The final step is stirring in a generous amount of sour cream, which gives the sauce a rich, tangy flavor. Serve Hungarian Paprikash over egg noodles or rice, and you've got a hearty, flavorful meal that's perfect for a cozy night in. Chicken a la king, a dish that was fit for royalty back in the 70s, but was actually a quick and easy meal for many families. This creamy, comforting dish features tender chunks of chicken, bell peppers, and mushrooms swimming in a rich, velvety cream sauce. It's traditionally served over toast, rice, or egg noodles, making it versatile for weeknight dinners or even leftovers. Here's how it goes. Start by sautéing the mushrooms, onions, and bell peppers in butter until they're soft and fragrant. Then add flour to make a roux, which thickens the sauce. Slowly stir in chicken broth and heavy cream, creating that creamy goodness that makes this dish unforgettable. Once your sauce is bubbling, toss in cooked chicken and let it simmer until the flavors meld together perfectly. Serve it on top of a crispy slice of toasted bread or over rice. It's rich, hearty, and the kind of comfort food you didn't know you needed. The 1970s made chicken a la king a household name, but once you try it, you'll wonder why it ever fell out of fashion. Moussaka. Moussaka is a layered baked dish that originated in Greece, but it gained popularity around the world in the 1970s. This comforting casserole typically features layers of eggplant, ground beef, or lamb, and a rich, creamy bechamel sauce. To make moussaka, start by slicing and roasting the eggplant. Next, brown the ground meat with onions, garlic, and spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. Once the meat and eggplant are ready, layer them in a baking dish. Top it off with a thick bechamel sauce made from butter, flour, milk, and cheese, then bake until golden and bubbly. Moussaka is a rich, hearty dish with deep flavors, and it's perfect for feeding a crowd. It's often compared to lasagna, but the Mediterranean spices and eggplant give it a unique twist. Chicken Cordon Bleu. Looking for something a little fancier? Chicken Cordon Bleu is up next. This dish was popular for its impressive presentation, making it a favorite for dinner parties in the 70s. It's a breaded chicken breast stuffed with ham and Swiss cheese, baked until crispy on the outside and gooey on the inside. Start by pounding the chicken breasts until they're thin and even. Place a slice of ham and Swiss cheese on each breast, then roll them up tightly. Coat the rolled chicken in flour, then dip it in egg wash, and finally roll it in breadcrumbs to get that perfect crispy coating. Bake until golden brown, and when you cut into it, you'll get that satisfying melt of cheese. Chicken Cordon Bleu may seem fancy, but it's surprisingly easy to make. The key is in the crispy breadcrumb coating and the creamy cheese inside. Serve it with a side of roasted vegetables or a simple salad for a dinner that feels elegant but is incredibly approachable. It's the kind of recipe that was beloved in the 70s but still deserves a place in your rotation today. Ham and Pineapple Casserole. For a sweet and savory twist, let's talk about the ham and pineapple casserole. This dish was a quirky yet beloved dinner option during the 1970s, combining the flavors of juicy ham and sweet pineapple in a creamy, cheesy casserole. If you're a fan of Hawaiian pizza, this might just be your new favorite retro dish. To make this casserole, start by cubing leftover ham and draining a can of pineapple chunks. In a large bowl, mix together the ham, pineapple, and shredded cheddar cheese. The contrast of salty ham and sweet pineapple might sound unusual, but trust me, it works. Next, prepare a simple sauce by mixing sour cream and a little mayonnaise. This helps tie all the flavors together. Once everything is mixed, pour the ham and pineapple mixture into a baking dish. Top it off with a layer of crushed Ritz crackers or breadcrumbs for that signature crunchy topping. Pop it in the oven until the top is golden brown and the casserole is bubbly. It's a dish that might have been forgotten over time, but once you try it, you'll see why it was a hit in the 70s. Veal Oscar. Veal Oscar is an elegant dish that features tender veal cutlets topped with crab meat, asparagus, and béarnaise sauce. This dish was considered quite fancy in the 1970s, often served at upscale restaurants or for special occasions. To prepare Veal Oscar, you'll start by sautéing veal cutlets in butter until golden brown. Then, top them with tender asparagus spears and fresh crab meat. The final touch is a rich béarnaise sauce made from butter, egg yolks, white wine vinegar, and tarragon. This dish is decadent and luxurious, combining the delicate flavors of veal, seafood, and a creamy herb-infused sauce. It's perfect for a retro-themed gourmet dinner. Liver and onions. Liver and onions might be a bit polarizing, but it was a popular dinner dish during the 1970s. Rich in nutrients and relatively inexpensive, liver was often served with sautéed onions for a classic meal. To make this dish, start by slicing the liver into thin strips and soaking it in milk for about 30 minutes. This helps to mellow out the strong flavor. While the liver soaks, sauté thinly sliced onions in butter until they're soft and caramelized. Once the onions are done, remove them from the pan and add the liver. Cook the liver quickly over high heat, searing each side until it's browned but still tender inside. top with the caramelized onions and serve with mashed potatoes or rice. Liver and onions might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it was a nutrient-rich dish that many families enjoyed. If you're feeling adventurous or looking to try something retro and unique, this dish is worth a taste. Pineapple upside-down cake. This tropical-inspired dessert became a staple in many households in the 1970s. Pineapple upside-down cake is not only delicious, but visually stunning, with caramelized pineapple rings and maraschino cherries arranged on top of a soft, buttery cake. To make it, you'll start by melting butter and brown sugar in the bottom of a cake pan. Then layer pineapple slices and cherries over the mixture. Pour the cake batter on top and bake it until golden brown. Once it's cooled, flip it over to reveal the beautiful fruit topping. This cake is sweet, moist, and has a lovely tropical flavor that made it a hit at dinner parties and family gatherings. Pot roast with vegetables. Finally, we have a true classic, pot roast with vegetables. This dish was a Sunday dinner staple in many homes during the 1970s. It's a slow-cooked one-pot meal that's tender, flavorful, and comforting. To make a pot roast, start by searing a beef chuck roast in a large Dutch oven until it's browned on all sides. Remove the roast and set it aside. In the same pot, sauté onions, garlic, and carrots until they're softened. Add potatoes and any other root vegetables you like, then pour in beef broth and a splash of red wine for extra flavor. Return the roast to the pot, cover, and let it simmer on low heat for several hours until the meat is fall-apart tender. The slow cooking allows all the flavors to meld together, and the result is a hearty, comforting meal that's perfect for a family dinner. Deviled eggs. Deviled eggs were a hit at every party in the 70s, and they still are today. They're a simple yet elegant appetizer made by hard-boiling eggs, cutting them in half, and mixing the yolks with mayonnaise, mustard, and spices before spooning them back into the whites. You can customize deviled eggs with all sorts of toppings, like paprika, bacon bits, or even pickles for a bit of tang. In the 1970s, they were often decorated with olive slices or even small bits of seafood, like shrimp or anchovies for a gourmet touch. Deviled eggs are quick, easy, and always a crowd pleaser, making them a timeless addition to any vintage dinner spread. Salmon Patties. Salmon patties are a classic, budget-friendly dish that was particularly popular in the 1970s, often made with canned salmon. These patties are crispy on the outside and tender on the inside, perfect for a quick weeknight meal. To make them, you'll combine canned salmon with breadcrumbs, eggs, finely diced onions, and seasoning. Some recipes add a bit of mayonnaise or mustard for extra flavor. Once the mixture is combined, form it into patties and pan-fry them until golden brown. They're typically served with a side of mashed potatoes or a simple green salad. The best part about salmon patties is how versatile they are. You can make them fancy with a homemade tartar sauce or keep them simple with a squeeze of lemon. Pineapple chicken. Pineapple chicken is a vibrant dish that captures the sweet and savory flavors that defined many 1970s dinners. This delightful recipe combines tender chicken with juicy pineapple, making it a nostalgic favorite for family gatherings. To start, cut boneless, skinless chicken breasts into bite-sized pieces and season them with salt and pepper. Sauté the chicken in a large skillet with a bit of oil over medium heat until it's golden brown and cooked through. Remove the chicken and set it aside. In the same skillet, add chopped bell peppers and onions. Sauté these colorful veggies until they're soft and fragrant, which adds a delightful crunch to the dish. Return the chicken to the skillet and prepare the signature sauce. Mix together pineapple juice, soy sauce, and a touch of brown sugar in a bowl. Pour this tangy sauce over the chicken and vegetables, then stir in canned pineapple chunks. Let everything simmer for a few minutes, allowing the flavors to meld and the sauce to thicken slightly. For those who enjoy a bit of heat, add a pinch of red pepper flakes or some chopped ginger. Quiche Lorraine. Quiche Lorraine is a timeless classic that brings elegance to any meal. This savory pie features a flaky crust filled with a rich custard of eggs, cream, crispy bacon, and Swiss cheese. To prepare, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Fit a 9-inch pie crust into a pie dish and bake for about 10 minutes until lightly golden. While the crust bakes, cook diced bacon in a skillet until crispy, then drain. In a bowl, whisk together 4 large eggs, 1 cup of heavy cream, salt, pepper, and a pinch of nutmeg. Stir in the cooked bacon and 1 cup of shredded Swiss cheese. Pour the mixture into the pre-baked crust. Bake for 30 to 35 minutes until the custard is set and the top is golden. Allow it to cool slightly before slicing. Serve warm or at room temperature for a delightful brunch or light dinner. With its creamy filling and crispy bacon, Quiche Lorraine remains a beloved favorite. And there you have it, 20 vintage dinner recipes from the 1970s that deserve a revival. These dishes remind us of family gatherings and the joy of sharing a meal. Which recipe are you excited to try? Share your favorites in the comments below. If you enjoyed this culinary journey, be sure to subscribe for more nostalgic recipes. Until next time, happy cooking.